This week on ijdm, we're taking a look at this classic vintage Sony amplifier.
Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay forever.
All right, what we got here is the Sony TA-AX390 all-power. What? Am I reading that correctly? It's quite the wording Sony has on this. All power stages direct coupled acoustic controlled amplifier. That's a mouthful. It's right there printed on the thing. I just noticed that. I hadn't even read that before, and I'm just looking at it. I'm like, wait a minute, is that what it says? On the front, you got your basic power switch that turns the system on and off, along with some of the plugs on the back, like I'll show you in a minute. Your selectors for A channel speakers, B channel, or to have A and B both on. This model does not have surround sound, so there's none of that business going on here. This is pretty much a straight up stereo amplifier, and if you want 4 speakers, 2 in one room and 2 in another, then this is what you got. This usually came in a rack system. Sony had these pre-made rack systems, and they actually included individual components so you could add to them and take away as needed. So if you originally bought it with a tape deck and say a turntable and you wanted to add the CD player later on, yeah, you're good to go. So there's that. We got a 5-channel, 5-band spectrum analyzer on the front with the graphic EQ on the right. Kind of cool to see that on a receiver, or I should say an amplifier. Considering because nowadays you just don't see that anymore. It's just one of those things, they stopped doing that, and you're lucky if you even get a VU meter on some of the higher end stuff. Selections for video, tape, CD, tuner, and of course turntable. Then we have another button down here. It is labeled as DBFB, and if I remember right, that stands for dynamic bass feedback. It's just kind of like a bass booster. I think they changed it to something else later on. Ear balance control and motorized volume. I do not have the remote for this. This was a thrift shop find, surprisingly. Wow, it's like, there it was, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'll grab this. It was cheap enough. It was only like 20 bucks, which is rare, because usually these things are way overmarked whenever you go out thrifting and you find something like this. So the first thing I have to do is I'm gonna have to jump across the camera, and this thing's looking a little lonely. So let's kind of add up some stuff here. So yeah, I found the matching tuner to this as well. So switching sides here. So this power you just leave on, so it would turn on with the main control unit, I guess you can call this. You got your station selector, display, AM, FM band, memory scan, tuning, and this really wonky tune. I could see where these probably got broke because people probably yoinked these pretty hard, and I mean, it's really got a short little throw on it. It's I don't know about that. Anyhow, let's go ahead and switch sides, and I'm going to show you the back side. But before we do that, it's still looking a little plain, isn't it? Is it me? Well, I picked this up hoping to repair it, and I actually did a video on it. We got all those in frame. There we go. Yeah, so I had picked this up off of eBay. It was cheap enough. It was a tape deck I always wanted back in the day because it had the old school LED VU meters that were colored. I think they were green and red toward the end, where the other one later ones were just the standard blue color. So I thought it'd be neat to have, and it has the automatic music search and dual directions. I did a video trying to repair this, but the video came out absolutely horrid. I don't know what I was talking about. I thought I fixed it. I didn't. So that video went by the wayside. And yeah, that's why sometimes there's these cycles where you don't see me release stuff for a while. It's because I run into stuff like that, and it's kind of discouraging. We will go ahead and power that on too as we flip around to the backside and get this wired up and get it tested. I mean, let's listen to some music, do something with it. I mean, we don't want to just stare at it, right? Okay, here we go. And just like that, we're on the back side. Of course, you got your line in, line out on the actual tape deck unit we threw on top there. And then we have the output antenna, and then these Control S ports, which linked it up. I do have those cables, surprisingly. It came with it. Power outlets is where you hook up your speakers, and then there's every one of the inputs that I mentioned on the front for selecting if you wanted CD, tape, a video source or whatever. So we need to get this all hooked up. Unfortunately, I only have one speaker available. My other speakers are kind of like hanging somewhere. So we're just going to use the one JBL Control 1 speaker. And that should be good enough because you're not going to really hear much over the microphone. But let's go ahead and get this connected. But first, we need connectors. Was that a nifty cut or what? Come on now. The magic of video editing. So we'll plug that in, and then we'll go ahead and plug in these two components. Why not? So that all should turn on at the same time. And those are all switched. Some receivers have a non-switched function on them. And then we are just going to use this green cable here. And we'll go ahead and hook that up to the tuner. Like I said, I'm not going to do the tape deck because it's not even working, but it's just there for, just to keep everyone company, I guess. And we'll go ahead and do that. Simple as that. I mean, nothing complicated there. Then you have your speaker connection. I'm just using this wherever I found it, garage or whatever. It was just sitting there, so I'm like, that'll work. We're not pushing high power input in by any means. And these are just the spring-loaded jacks, not like the later banana plugs or even the weird, cheaper stuff. You know, it's a really cheap receiver. Your first clue is if the speaker output terminals are RCA. That's usually your first clue. Get in there. Okay. And for the actual tuner bit, we will need to hook up the antenna. We'll just use this and kind of hang it off from one of my cupboards here in the kitchen and see what's what. There we go. We're all connected up. And power button. Yeah, tape deck made a noise, but yeah, it ain't gonna work because it's just the way it is. I have to find someone in my area that actually knows how to. That's weird. That's probably a loose connection somewhere or a dirty thing where maybe this connects. I mean, that is a little weird. Shouldn't be able to tap that like that and have that response. I thought maybe it was the tape deck, but it's just because it's whatever. Is what it is. So we need to get in a station here. So let's just do auto tuning. Well. Okay, well, I live in Florida, so there is a lot of stations that have Latin type music. So anyhow, yeah, it works. And yeah, it sounds good. I'm not going to, I already got flagged recently for another video, so I don't want to get flagged again. Yeah, so it says 5, but there's your 5, but then the other one's just, I think, your just general range of all of them, where it's just kind of more like a standard VU meter. And I guess they're just combining the right and left channels in this, if I was to guess correctly. But yeah, very neat with the spectrum here. I mean, that display looks really cool with the little red lines there. Would have been nice to see when it kind of gets near peak, you know, a little bit of red there. But hey, for a rack system, that's good enough. And you didn't really need much more than this. I mean, other you wanted a actual display saying tuner or whatever, but you have these little LED lights that lit up underneath here. And good to go. Oh, let's try the bass. Okay, I honestly can't really discern the difference with it on or off. Then on the tuner up above, as you can see, it's very much a similar kind of aesthetic here with the little indentation on the bottom, just like this has, just it's a little smaller. And this just gives you the tune-in information and then what preset that's on there. And then I think if I hit memory scan again, and let's see if we can pick up any other channels. Okay, so there we go.
More storage and a new model.
Okay, well, it's a commercial, of course. So I'll do auto scan. Go. Am I doing that wrong? I guess it just takes a second. Okay, yeah. Sounds great. I mean, I just got this JBL Control 1 here. They're good sounding speakers for what I'm doing. Yeah, this is a really neat receiver, and I wouldn't mind having one. It's just, it wasn't my era. It was late 80s. I didn't get my first system until in the 90s, but I always had these cheap stereos growing up, but that's all we could afford. But it would have been very cool to have something like this back in the day, and I just thought it was cool with this graphic spectrum analyzer deal here. And all right, let's turn that off and see. Ah, see, it's not doing it now. Is that something just from the... Yeah, very strange that it was doing that. But yeah, very cool, neat little system. Just thought I'd show it to you. Kind of using this episode as a filler in between, because the last episode of my Arrakis Digilink system is coming up. I've been waiting on a few items and a few things to come through. However, I'm not sure it's all going to come together, but I'm still going to try to wrap that up for everybody that's interested in that. That'll end that off for a while, and we'll go more into this type of thing. I do have a very cool Pioneer receiver from the day to show as well that you can check out in a later video. That'll do it for this ijdm. Be sure to hit subscribe if you'd like to donate. We do have a Patreon page, and we'll see you next time.